demonstration like the first May demonstrations in Berlin, or I think 2 years ago we had a big demonstration in Stuttgart against the central station. They tried to build a central station in Stuttgart, and many people in Stuttgart don't want to have this central station, so there were a lot of demonstrations. And one demonstration is called the Black Thursday, because there are a lot of normal demonstrations, not like in case of the 1st of May. You have a lot of for the public opinion, you have a lot of communists or left demonstrants, like the Black Bloc is the Autonom. In this case, the normal public opinion is when something happens and it's okay because the police fights for our states against these left demonstrants. But in this case, in Stuttgart, you had a lot of normal people who were demonstrated against this central station, and when they saw this police violence, they start thinking about the police in Germany, because we started with our campaign and with our report 2 months before, and in the beginning the press and also the public opinion was why Amnesty International works to Germany, because we are a good country, like you think. But then they see, okay, we have a problem with police sometimes in Germany, and that is one big problem, is that we have no individual application numbers. There was one demand we, as Amnesty International Germany, bring to the police or the parties, but that's on the paper they have the right, but in praxis, it's a big problem, because they are in the prison and they only can write a letter to this officers in this prison. I can judge this letter because I only read this letter, and when I ask the prison's office, they say, okay, nothing happens in these prisons, because maybe he's crazy or he's dreaming, I don't know, and we can't control this letter. We can't control. We can only, the thing we do sometimes is that we write this letter, and when we think, okay, this letter is maybe this happens, we start some low investigation.
Bosch is deeply concerned about the growth of nationalism in Germany after the issue of Sarrazin's book. A scandalous response and unwholesome consequences of nationalistic ideas of Thilo Sarrazin, which are disseminated by propaganda machinery, feed fear for Germany's future. A new mastermind of the Nazism believes that a considerable part of Arab and Turkish immigrants is absolutely unprepared and unwilling to integrate into the German society. The integration is a task of the one who is integrated. I do not have to stand the one who does nothing for this. In fact, I do not have to stand the one who lives at the expense of the state. The one who denies the state, takes no care of educating his children, and instead is permanently busy with reproducing little girls in headscarves.
Bu olayı tanımlarken Almanya'nın hoşuna gitmeyen bir kavram kullanıyoruz. Bu da institüsyonel ırkçılık, kurumsal ırkçılık diyoruz buna. Veya yapısal ırkçılık yani diyoruz. Kurumsal veya yapısal. Struktureller rasismus, institüsyonel rasismus. Yani bu tek tek bireylerin ırkçı olup olmaması değil. Tek tek bireyler ırkçı olur veya olmaz. Ama polis sisteminin, teşkilatının içindeki yaklaşımlar bir olay olduğu zaman bunlar kendi aralarında birbirlerini vurmuşlardır. Mafyadır. İşte Kürt mafyasıdır, Türk mafyasıdır, Polonya mafyasıdır, Arap mafyasıdır, Rus mafyasıdır diyorlar. Neden öyle oluyor? Çünkü o memur, polis memuru bir olumsuz olay olduğu zaman o olumsuz olay tabii olumsuz olarak bakıyor. O Türkse Türkler demek ki böyle diye düşünüyor. Bu kişi örgüt içinde, devletin içinde, güvenlik birimleri içinde bir noktaya yükseliyor. Kafasında o şablon sürekli duruyor. O şablondan bakıyor. Bu şablon da böyle bir şablon. Bu şablon işte bu kurumsallaştırıyor. ve kuruma girdiği için de kurumsallaştırıyor. Yani yapısal ve kurumsal ırkçılık oluşuyor. Bu olayın üstüne gidilmesi gereken nokta budur Almanya'da. Yoksa tek tek bireyler içinde ırkçılar da olur, olmaz. Onlarla mücadele etmek kolay. Kurumsal olayla mücadele etmek çok zor.
Kenan Kolat, head of the Turkish community in Germany, is one of those making public the true causes of high-profile case of NSU and killings of Turks. He is frequently threatened by reprisals, anonymous emails and telephone calls. However, the police is not in a hurry to investigate threats against a man who devoted his life to the new Germany.
Telefon ediyor, seni yok edeceğiz diyor. Tabii. Bir süre polis bunları izliyor. Yani polisin bilgisi var. Telefonlarımı koyuyorlar, mail adreslerimi koyuyorlar. Tabii mail yağıyor ondan sonra. Ama örgütlü. Ama biz bunlara alıştık. Bakın dün bir Türk'ün işte Alexanderplatz'ta Türk grubunu öldürdüğü bir Alman çocuk değil, Tibetli bir çocuk cenazesine gittim. Cenazeye gitmeden önce polisi aradım. Dedim ki ben oraya geliyorum. Hani orada birisi bana laf atar. Birisi üstüme gelir itik kakar. Ben de hani duramam. Bir şey olmasın, sonunda şey olmasın diye. İncelediler. Dediler böyle bir tehlike görmüyoruz ama biz orada olacağız. Geldiğinizde bize gittim. Tanıdılar beni. Yanımda gezdiler hep. Yani bir şey olmuyor. Tabii yani şimdi böyle tehditler alıyorsunuz. Ben tabii çok dikkat ediyorum girerken, çıkarken, şey yaparken. Polis bize gel dedi, buraya dedi, kamera koyun dedi yani en azından belli bir şey. Gel, aşağıda var kamera girişte. O girişe de koyun. Hukuk binanın içindeki şeyler Alman gizli servisin içindeki elemanlarla bilgi alıyorlar. Bakın bu şu NSU dediğimiz Nasyonal Sosyalist Yeraltı Örgütü'nün elemanları 1998 yılından beri tanınıyor, biliniyor. Bunlar bilinmeyen insanlar değil. Alman devleti öyle aptal bir devlet değil. Her ayrıntıyı biliyor. 25 Ocak galiba 98'de 99'du galiba bir garajda bomba imali yaparken ihbar geliyor. Bomba ihmali yapılıyor diye. Şimdi bir insan oturup bombayı niye yapar? Atmak için yapar. Ben bugün oyuncak diye bomba yapmıyorum. Polisin içinden informasyon gidiyor. Basılacaksınız diyor. Gidiyorlar. Kaçıyorlar.
Young and talented film director and journalist Christopher Greber, author of scandalous documentary films about Nazism, which in his view is backed by the state inside the state, is concerned about the situation around refugees and immigrants.
They had a German passport. The police doesn't even, they didn't comment. But all the news were just, repeating and repeating. Well, the guys who killed it, they're Germans on paper, but in real life they're probably Turkish. So and you see, this is what I really dislike. So it doesn't matter whether they're Turkish or not. Yeah? And the police never has said that. Yeah? So. And this is the way how we still in media have to learn so much. This institutionalized racism. We have a lot of discussions, there's questions and answers later on after the film, and there were a lot of people who were against this refugees and migrants and all said, yeah, and Zaratin, he's so right with his thesis. And then I asked him, what thesis do you mean? Tell me one. What he said about integration and this Arabs and this migrants. What exactly do you mean? They don't even know. They don't read this book. They just buy it because they think, yeah, somebody says the foreigners are guilty. I think, especially in this time of European crisis, of course, we in Germany, we're not hit so much by now, but European crisis, frustration, especially in the young times, there is no real future. There's nothing to fight for. This is sort of, prison of freedom somehow. There it comes to the point that people, it's irrational. It's absolutely irrational. There is no problem. What Saracen points out. I mean, it's just a racistic propaganda stuff.
In the global world, undue care for national identity, either Germans or Arabs, involves an economic crisis. For this reason, Greber is indignant at the growth of corruption caused by the crisis of democratic values, while focusing on these issues. He is thus discharging his civic duty in an effort to draw his fellow citizens' attention to Germany's problems.
Look at the report from Amnesty International and from Reporters Without Borders. Yeah? In the ranking of press freedom, for example, we are not even in the top 10 in Germany. And as Amnesty International, I think we're on the ranking on about number 40 looking on human rights. So we're not the best in human rights. That's you can just look it up. We have a problem, I just mentioned it. The Constitutional Court just had this in the most important paragraph or article which exists about the dignity of humans, because we pay refugees just the half of the money each month we pay normal jobless people. So this is just only because they're migrants, they get half the money of a normal jobless worker, and even worse, we don't let them work. So of course we have problems with human rights. Nobody would say that, but it's just true. Yeah? And we have looking at NSU, we have maybe we have a deep state. It's not clear yet, but there are some things. Or we have policemen. There is a very well-known case that an asylum seeker he was drunk and policemen put him into jail, and then he was burned on his mattress. Yeah, he just died, and it somehow looks like the policeman probably, at least helped somehow, but the court said, no, everything is okay. So now it's a big scandal, and they try to find it out again. So there are these problems. Legal corruption definitely exists in Germany. I call it legal corruption because just look at Berlin. We have this now. Just look at this airport, who will never exist, probably. Yeah,
a lot of people say
3 billions of euro are just blowing in the wind. Of course, it's legal corruption. That's legal corruption. We have that in Germany, yeah, and that's what strikes me. That we shouldn't be so arrogant to say, well, we have democracy and we have, everything works here. That's just not true. Especially in Berlin, we have so many scandals where a lot of people earned a lot of money with money from us taxpayers. And the Berlin airport, which maybe comes next year, maybe in 10 years, maybe will never come. It's ironic and a shame.
Graeber is prone to think that the racism in Germany poses threat not only to the future of Germany, but the future of the entire European continent. For this reason, well-known journalist, one of the leading authors of the weekly Stern, Katja Glober, sees the salvation in active Euro integration only. She is right. For the security in the modern world is not so much the control over a territory, but rather a defense of values. Why are fundamental European values violated in a country, motive power of Eurocentrism and inspirer of European values? For instance, the right to freedom of assembly, seriously echoed in Germany and beyond its limits, are frequent cases of inadequately cruel dispersal of meetings and protests by police, with numerous arrests and injuries of civilians. Thus, when dispersing a meeting of protest against the continuation of the construction of a new railway station in Stuttgart and related felling in the town park, the police applied water cannons, tear gas and truncheons, even despite the peaceful character of the demonstration and the great number of children and old people. As a result, about 400 demonstrators, 50 of which were school children with different injuries, had to consult doctors. The opposition said that the use of force was inadequate and demanded to set up a parliamentary commission to investigate the incident. According to Cem Özdemir, head of the opposition Green Party, the police impertinently beat old women and youth who took part in the demonstration. Today's violence used by the police to disperse demonstrators is not rare in Germany. Thus, in July last year, the international organization Amnesty International circulated a report titled "Violence Used by Police, a Criminal is Unknown," which accused the German police of indulging these abuses. Another latest example, a police in Frankfurt forcibly dispersed an unauthorized action of protest organized by participants of the movement Occupy Frankfurt. Above 400 participants were detained, scores of people sustained various injuries. Activists tried to pitch tented camps, make barricades in different parts of the town and sit down protests on carriageways. Attending the action were about 1,000. When dispersed, they resisted, so the police had to use blackjacks to suppress the protesters. Here is one of the authors of the Frankfurt movement, Thomas Occupy, who is currently engaged in new protests, struggling for European values to thus lay foundations of happy and free Europe.
In front of the newspapers, the human rights are safe. But if you look behind the curtains, I think there is still many problems running. Yeah? I even will not put up any thing of real political things, because there you can put up maybe 50 or maybe 100 different points. Yeah? But I think one of human rights is that at least anyone German should have the right of correct existence. So, and if I see that anyone who is sick of drugs or alcohol die here under a bridge, so I see there is no social care, so I see the human rights are being pushed by the feet of the government. Yeah? And then if you can go steps further on, which is not correct. Yeah? So you'll find many points.
No, it is not ridiculous. It's sad that people in Germany are afraid of arrests. From time to time, the history turns into venom to poison the whole generations. This venom is still used to poison generations, as was nearly 100 years ago. At that time, Spengler foresaw the decline of Europe. Germany has gone mad. It needs to be confined in a madhouse. The thinker noted, and the decline has come. Each decline gives way to the rise. That is our world.